difficult is it to evaluate the players who do play when the majority of the guys in your rotation are not playing?
Well, I don't think to see this totality would be great. So that's not in the cards right now. So you want to put those guys in positions that you think they could fill. If we're complete. There's also times where you want to push their boundaries a bit. Maybe put them in some situations they haven't really been exposed to. So you can evaluate on different levels, but I think it's just a great opportunity to try different things and see what they're capable of.
Wes, we haven't seen your young guys. Could you give us a little thumbnail about what we're about to see tonight?
Well, we've done a really good job of competing at a high level. I think go down the list of different skill sets. I think Johnny Davis is a guy that he's slowly come along. Had plenty of experience in the G League. He's taken a really good jump here in the last probably month and a half. And good size 2 guard. He's shooting the ball well, playing with confidence. I think he has the potential to be a high-level defender. Quentin Jackson, another shifty guard, downhill player, very athletic. I think Jay Huff is a guy. They know him now, obviously, defensive player of the year in the G League. But he's shown the ability. 17 and 9 last night to pick and pop. Defend the rim pretty well. But just the combination of those guys and the experiences that this has allowed them, I think is going to benefit them, but also benefit us.
Wes, how have you seen over the course of the last handful of games that evolution of what you've gotten from Johnny and Jay? You mentioned obviously their numbers last night, but just with what they've been able to do and the confidence they've built over this time, utilizing the reps in the G League, but now executing on that stage that some guys, the lights come on and they kind of just blend into the background.
Well, I think just the level of confidence that you get through doing something and having success. A lot of that success was earned, at the G League level, but it translates. I think that's the biggest key is if you don't get that affirmation or that that feeling of success, you're probably not going to be confident in doing it again. And I think as you kind of leap hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, now that next step is easier to take. So we've seen that with Johnny, and where he was maybe 3 months ago to where he is now, he's, in my opinion, a different player.
The last matchup with the Hawks, obviously they had the coach turnover and whatnot, but you talked about the competitiveness and attention to detail. Your roster and who you're going to play tonight looks a lot different than that night. How have you seen these young guys look at the scouting report, try to execute, and have that attention to detail and that competitiveness, knowing that, as you've said, youthful mistakes are going to happen?
Well, it hasn't been perfect, obviously. I think there are times where it looks really good and they're able to do different things. There's times where whether it's a level of communication, guys are maybe not in the correct spots, but that's going to happen. And once again, it's not something that they have practiced together, that much as a late. So throwing a lot of things at them, being able to lay our defense, make adjustments, oftentimes using film, walkthroughs, they're not getting a ton of reps. So the carryover is, it's a big piece, and it's not just, 1 or 2 examples, in the last few games. Can they get in the habit of being able to make adjustments on the fly, or going from the board in a timeout to the floor, and retaining and applying those situations in real time. So it's not necessarily what you're doing, necessarily, but can you layer those different areas and see those guys grow and their ability to retain, apply, and do things at a high level.
With that said, how would you assess what they were able to do with that last night against a very good Bucks team?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it probably like 6. I thought we had some really good moments, and then at times there was some coverage confusion, and to be expected. But you go out against a team that's still competing at a high level, trying to hold on to the number 1 spot in the East. Offensively, I thought we were terrific. You score 128 points, 50 plus from the field. 74 in the paint, 30 assists. That wasn't the issue. The defensive piece, the KYP awareness to the three-point shot. Trying to defend an MVP level player like Giannis without fouling, easier said than done. But that's great. That's great for X. That's great for J Hub. That's great for all those young guys to have to go through that experience and get a taste of it.
Wes, what's the next step that you want to see Corey take this off season?
I think just continue to expand his game off the dribble. Being able to quick shoot and catch and shoot situations. We've seen him grow in that area a little bit, but to be one of those guys where when he gets an open look, the whole arena knows that that's a bad thing. So I think he's slowly progressing in that direction. But and from the defensive perspective, I think he's done a pretty good job with his body position, understanding his individual assignments. But the one-on-one piece, that's just something that we all have to kind of dive into and get better at.
Wes, can you explain from a coach's perspective how you handle a mission statement that changes? This team was supposed to go to the playoffs. Now you're developing go-go players that would not play on this team if the mission statement was what it was in the beginning of the year. How do you manage that as a head coach?
Well, I think the development piece is always there. It's different because different set of players, but that's always been a priority to continue to develop from within. We all know things may change. That change can happen quick, so you got to be able to pivot and shift your attention in another area. So I think that's just an example of what any coach would do in these type of situations. You want to use what you have and try to get the most of it, but with the way we're set up right now, and the fact that we have 6 of our top 8 not dressing, really puts things in perspective. So you want to make sure that you're still continuing to teach, to hold guys accountable. You got to coach them up to a certain extent, but you also want to make sure that they're competing and growing and learning as best they can.
Has your calm demeanor actually helped you deal with the mission statement that changes?
I look calm, but that doesn't mean I'm calm. I don't know. I think it's just it goes back to that mindset. I can only control what I can control. So I can't control who's available, but I want to get the most out of the guys who are.
Having Monte, Kuz, KP, although not available, but still on the bench, does that allow you and your staff a moment to allow them to kind of coach up the young guys, to coach up Q or Goody in those situations that they might not have had that opportunity had they not been making these trips, even though they're not available?
Well, I think they do, even when they were in uniform. But I think this allows them a different perspective. When you're out there going through it, versus looking at it through a larger lens, I think you have more of an appreciation for what goes into it. One of those 3 actually mentioned that. So it's good that they're kind of learning how to coach on the fly as well. And it's not just cheer and breathe life and confidence in the guys, but also schematically, being able to diagnose things in real time and talk to the group. So I think that's helpful for us. It's helpful for them. And I think the young players they garner a lot of that. And they take full advantage of, when you got a veteran guy, investing their time into them.
How's Delon and Denny doing?
Delon, I think, is doing much better. I haven't spoken to him today. I did speak with Denny. He says he's heading in the right direction.
6 starters?
6 starters.
Out of curiosity, which one of the 3 said that?
You have to find out.
To that point, when Kuz is talking to Johnny going to the locker room, KP's talking to Huff in the huddle, do you think, you said this before, do players kind of accept that message more from a fellow player?
I don't know if they accept it more, but I think it just maybe adds a little more validation. When you speak the same language, sometimes it's more delivery than anything. And I think when it comes from a guy who's been in their shoes and is doing what they're trying to do, maybe that carries a little bit more weight. but you know, it's all along the same messaging. So I think it's important that anytime those guys get to hear it, you know, that they're able to absorb some of that.
At this point, still nothing official in terms of shutting people down.
No, I mean, I don't think you know, after tonight, it's going to be difficult to get those guys back. You know, that's obvious. So, but no, nothing official.
Thanks, Wes.
I appreciate it.